Hi everyone, in this video I will show you how to make this art sign out of clay. Your project doesn't have to say art. You could make any word or name that you like. When using clay in my classroom, I give each student a large piece of cardboard to work on. This helps keep the tables a lot cleaner. You could also use a piece of board like this. Another suggestion might be covering the surface area with a large piece of paper so that the table doesn't get dirty. You will also need some clay. I'm using this gray clay right now. It turns white after firing. I store it in baggies, and before I close the bag, I like to spray a little bit of water in there to keep it moist so it doesn't dry out. Gloves are a great option if you don't want to get your hands dirty with the clay. You'll need a cup of water and some carving tools. I like to use some of these wooden sticks. They're pointed on one end and flat on the other. Some plastic carving tools, some that are curved, some that are flat edged. Toothbrush makes some nice texture on your clay projects. Brushes are always good to have to smooth out any cracks. I like to use a spray bottle filled with water for wetting the clay. This is a rolling pin for rolling the clay flat. I'm also going to use 2 pieces of wood to put on either side of the clay so that when I roll it, it is the same thickness all the way across. I also will be using some texture rollers. I have a couple different ones here, so we're going to try those out. It presses this design into the clay. You're going to need some items to make texture into your clay. So here's a sea sponge. This is a marker cap. You can make some circle shapes. Here's a plastic fork. We can use that to add some texture. And last is a straw, and you can make some circles in your clay with that too. Here's the clay I'm using. It's a gray color right now, but once it's fired in the kiln, it turns white. So the first step is to work the clay and get out any bubbles, any air pockets. I'm going to flatten it down. Then I'm going to take the 2 pieces of wood like this. Then I'm going to use a rolling pin and I'm going to roll the clay flat. If the clay is too wet, it'll stick to the rolling pin. So don't overwater the clay. Pick it up and do the other side too if you want. Of course, you can roll it without the pieces of wood, make it thinner, but the wood helps keep it a uniform width. All right, so I'm done with the rolling pin, and now I have a slab of clay to work with. So first I'm going to cut a rectangular piece out of this. I could even use, I'm going to use the pieces of wood, and I'm going to cut out a rectangle from here. All right, use this carving tool. So this will be the base where I add the letters to, like the backing. This will be the backing. I'm gonna move that over here to the side. Now I need to roll another slab for the letters. What letters, what word will you make with the clay? Could be your first name. Could be your last name, it could be your initials. I'm going to write the word art, and I'll be able to hang it in my art class. So I'm working out the bubbles, and then I'm going to repeat the steps I did at the beginning. Now this slab will be for the letters. So I'm going to roll this flat. I feel like I'm baking cookies or something. I could go for some cookies right now. All right. A little bit of water. I'm going to add some texture to the backing piece with this texture roller. So I'm going to start here and go all the way across and see. Oh, that's pretty cool. Wow, it's the first time I've used that. I like that. I'm going to put that here. Take a small pointed tool and you're going to draw the letters onto the clay. You want to make big bubble letters or block letters when you're doing this. So I'm going to make large capital A. And if you mess up, all you have to do is just rub into the clay and push it back together. And you take your roller, roll over it like a big eraser. A. I'm not gonna be able to fit all the letters like I would like, so I'm gonna put the R here, and then I'm gonna make the T sideways so it fits on the slab here. So I'm gonna make a lowercase r. T here. There we go. All right, I messed up here. Fix that. There we go. All right, so once you have it, then you're going to cut those letters out of the slab. All right, the letters are done. Let's see if I like them. There you go, looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take the backing piece and I'm just gonna lay the letters on top of it, figure out placement. Okay. Notice this edge was kind of crooked, so I'm going to straighten this out. Same thing on this side. Okay. Now we're going to attach the letters to the backing. So first I'm going to just lay these out here. Might be fun if I wrote it like kind of slanted like that. Figure out the placement. No, let's see. You could even go this way. So there's lots of options. I'm gonna do it like that. Okay, so place the letters. And if you don't like the letters that you made, take the clay, take the rolling pin, do those steps again to make a slab, and draw and cut out more letters. So in this step, I'm just going to make some marks on the backing so I know where I need to score the clay and where the letters are going to go. So I'm just going to trace around the edge of the letters so I know where they're going to be attached. scratch into the clay. I'm going to score the clay. So when you scratch into it, that helps the clay stick together to other pieces better. Next, you have to wet the clay. That's called slip. I'm going to score the back of this one. Add the water. Put it on the spot where you drew the outline. Press it down. Stick it together. Oh God, then you can smooth it out in the next step. So repeat the steps here. Score the back of the letter R. So you do the same thing with your letters or your numbers. Make sure your letters and numbers are well attached to the backing. Got my letter, there's some cracks. Before I add the texture, I'm going to wet the clay a little bit, get out any cracks. I'm going to let the letters dry a little bit, and then I'm going to add some texture, maybe with some of these materials. I added some stripes with the fork on the T. R, I'm going to use marker cap, make some circles. All right, and for the A, I think I'm going to try one of the textures. So for the A, I'm going to use this texture roller. I used a variety of textures in this artwork to make it look more interesting. I'm going to go put this in the drying cabinet and let it dry completely before firing it in the kiln. Now, if you wrote your name in clay, you don't have to write your name on the back because you'll be able to recognize that that's you. And I think it turned out really great. If you want to hang this project up when you're finished, you're going to want to make 2 holes at the top so you can attach a string or a wire, and then you'll be able to hang it up on a wall. So I'm going to use this stick, and I'm going to put 2 holes near the top, and then it'll be ready to hang up. These letters are completely dry and ready for firing in the kiln. This is the kiln. Here's what the inside looks like with some of the projects loaded up. You will need various colors of glaze to paint onto your clay project. These glazes are non-toxic, lead-free, and food safe. And 2 coats work really well, and you can fire it at a cone of 4 in your kiln. You will need a palette for the glaze. When I'm having my students paint their projects with glaze in my classroom, I put 1 cup at each table, and each table has a different color of glaze. Then the students can move around the room and use that color, and when they're done, they go to the next table and use that color. And at the end of the class, it's easier for me to clean up because I can take like this green glaze and put it back in the bottle, and then I'm not wasting any of it. You will need a cup of water for cleaning off your brushes. You will also need some brushes to paint with. You will also need a paper towel to dry off your brushes. Also, when I'm painting, I'm going to use this Lazy Susan. This spins around and then it's easy for me to get to all sides of the clay project. Here's what it looks like after being fired in the kiln. The clay has turned white and is rock hard now. Now I'm going to apply glaze to it. 2 coats work best. Here are some of the colors I will use today on my palette. Let's get started. Remember, don't paint anything on the back, because if you put it on the back, it could stick to the kiln shelf and it would make a big mess and might break your project. I finished painting the glaze on my project. I used primary colors for the letters, and I used secondary colors for the background. And I tried to do a pattern in the background. I did 2 coats. I kept the glaze off the back where it's going to rest on the shelf. I'm going to let this dry, and then I will fire it in the kiln. When it comes out of the kiln, it's going to be shiny, the colors are going to be brighter. I'm excited to see how it turns out. Art. Here's how my project turned out. Art. The colors and the texture really added something to the project. They made it look more interesting, it provided variety. Now I'm going to attach wire to the project using these 2 holes, then I'll be able to hang it up on the wall. If you don't have wire, you could also use a strong piece of string. There we go, now it's ready to hang up. I hope you enjoyed making this project with me. Thanks for watching. Check out my other videos, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Art.